Well, folks, it's April 15th, tax day. Also opening day of turkey season here in Oregon. So I thought that I would do a quick video for YouTube, one take on how I set up my decoys. So I wrote an article for Northwest Sportsman magazine last month. That's the March 2022 issue of Northwest Sportsman magazine, on setting up decoys and decoy strategy for spring turkey. So might call it cheating, but this is where I fired from. Those are the decoys down there, and I kind of just wanted to put together a video that kind of explained my strategy with the placement of these decoys. So let's start with the beginning of the day. I know that the turkeys come from this field through this little pathway. There's actually a little bit of trail visible. You can actually see it's kind of a deer path, but used by all critters, of course. So when I started calling, I heard turkeys all around me. And the first that I saw were a group of jakes coming from over here. I continued to call, hearing turkeys come from 90 degrees from that direction. It's across a slough, and I was not confident about being able to call birds over the slough, but I have done it before. Again, the turkeys approach from this right here. There's the blind. Now, these turkeys came right up here and literally were right in front of the blind. I mean, I could have probably reached out and grabbed one of those jakes by the neck, but most of them, luckily, came up this path around this hazelnut and down into the trees here, anticipating that the birds would come up this path or either in front of the blind from the field. A lot of times you have big groups of birds. You want to be selective. You want to take the biggest tom, especially during spring turkey season when you can't take a hen. You have to take a bearded bird. I was trying to prepare for a group moving up in front of the blind, coming over this berm or walking up this trail or coming down the trail in the woods here. There's another trail down there, and catching a glimpse of my decoys. It took a while for these birds to feel comfortable moving in from the edge of the tree line and coming into the woods. By the time those birds had mulled around, gobblers, longbeards, were 100 yards behind me. I could see them strutting on the edge of the property. I need to bring them closer. I kept my calls to a minimum. I only called when all of the birds that were in front of me were quiet. Typically when birds are quiet, they're moving, so you don't want to call too much when they're quiet, but I was letting all of these birds do the decoying and calling for me out here on the edge of this field in the tree line. So I just kind of expected the longbeards to move up in front of the blind and to be able to take a shot straight out in front of me. Well, all these birds moved up. The group of jakes and hens, that is, moved up this berm, came over the berm, saw my decoys, and started to kind of move down the trail and come around to meet the decoys, like, hey guys, what's up? By then, the toms that were over on the other end over here were kind of wondering, like, where are all those jakes going in the woods? And there's a couple hens with them. What are those jakes doing with two hens? There were probably 7 or 8 jakes. A lot of jakes. It was really hard to turn down a shot. So easy. But I was trying to stay patient and get a long beard, and I'm really glad I did. It paid off. So what ended up happening was I ended up filming the whole thing on Instagram on a live feed, and I was holding the camera up in the blind and moving around a little bit too much, and the jakes and the hands started to spook a little bit and get a little paranoid. I thought about taking one of the jakes. It would have been an easy shot. I had plenty of them to choose from. Would have been no big deal, but I wanted to make sure that those toms weren't still on their way over. I kept looking over my shoulder, looking out where I saw them coming from, and then I just lost them. And then when I lost them, I kind of started it. Kept my ears open, heard that noise. Heard the gobbler behind me drumming. If I had not recognized that noise, I would have never known he was there. So, coming around to where I made my shot from, which would be this hole, you can see the bird. I think maybe through this lane. Anyway, that bird, and we'll go, let's see, this is kind of a travel lane here. You can kind of get an idea of the distance of the shot. Pretty often question with shotgun. So here's my bird. And you can see the blind. Right there is where I made my shot from. So you can see there's a lot of debris in this lane, but I saw red, put the bead on him, bird down. So what you can also see from here, very faintly, and I'll get down at the bird's level here. When you look through the bushes, what do you see? So this is the key element of decoying right here. You can see that decoy clearly, the red, the blue. Even though that group of birds had already started to exit that area and go back over the berm, this gobbler here had come around and kind of outflanked me here. Came over the berm on the other side. I expected him to come in front of the berm, straight in front of the blind, but as I had my back turned looking at the jakes in front of me, he came down this trail, which obviously is heavily used, and I anticipate to look for a bird flanking me on this trail or in the woods. And when he got here, caught a glimpse of that jake decoy, just a glimpse. And that is all it took to make him freeze to pop a shot off. So I'll go back down this trail again, and here's the bird. There's a trail coming that way, anticipating that something like this may happen. This trail, you can see there's the decoy, and we'll get a few different views. Here is the slough where I heard other birds calling from. So sometimes they'll land and climb up the hill here, get on this trail, come up the trail. There's my hen, decoy now. So now if he saw the jake, let's get down on the bird level here. He sees the hen, he sees the jake, even if he's a little paranoid, and moves into a better line of view. That's where I can make a shot from. I've got a clear lane to make a shot. if this bird decides to come through this lane, there's my shot. A little bit of debris there, but you also can't see the decoys yet. Now you're in line of the decoys. Because there's enough debris here, I feel like a turkey would probably take the path of least resistance on the trail and then come up through here. You can kind of see where they've been coming through, and you can see coming through this pathway right about here. If I was a turkey, if I was any bit suspicious, is about where I would start to wonder something doesn't look right, and by then it's a little too late. So kind of just wanted to go through a quick little breakdown of how this hunt went and how I was able to using my decoys. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Eyes looking a little cloudy there. Thank you, sir, for being the star of the show, and we'll see you next time.